Hey, this is Rick Brandenburg for Turf Bugs and Rock and Roll. And one thing that I've heard more and more commonly over the last 10 years is people saying they're not 100% satisfied with their white grub control. And we've got really good products. We probably have as many good products right now as we have any time in the history that I'm aware of in turfgrass white grub management. But there's one thing I'm sure it's not, and it's not, resistance. We're not seeing resistance or rapid breakdown of the pesticide in the soil. I do not believe that's an issue. I don't believe it's some odd, unique new species of white grub that simply isn't controlled. I think it's possibly one of two things. One is we really don't know in the area where you're seeing this poor control what the timing and life cycle is all about, and as a result, the timing is not perfect. And with these products, if you get the timing perfect, you're going to get really good control. If you get the timing off a little bit, you're still going to get good control, but not as good as you'd like. And if you're way off on the level of control with these products, you're just going to find that the control isn't what you hope for. So I think that's sometimes the case. And other things that I've observed, and we've not really done a study on it, some of it's anecdotal data and observations and what other people have told me. I think in some cases we're seeing a little bit of a shift in the flights of the beetles, especially in areas where we've intensively managed them for many years. We've put pressure on them to lay their eggs at a little different time. And I think we're seeing some of that. And not to a significant degree, but to a degree that we're seeing some reductions in pesticide performance. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. One is that historically, for many of these beetles that fly and lay eggs, we have used light traps, as you see in this photo. A light trap just simply is on at night, and it attracts the beetles, and we find out when they're flying, and when they're flying is when they're mating and laying eggs. So we really have a good handle on when the egg laying is taking place, and that gives us a really accurate timing for when to apply our products. Unfortunately, the manufacturer of these, there was really only one, has decided to quit manufacturing them, so that has left us in a little bit of a void. Obviously, you don't need light traps for Japanese beetles. They fly during the day, and you can always buy the bag traps to monitor their flights. So there is another company that has them. It's in Australia, and here's the link for that. Just like the other traps available from one of the previous companies, they're not cheap, but they seem to work, and I've seen them used in several locations, and they seem to be an effective trap. But here's the link so you can look into purchasing one if you think you need it. So why is it important? Well, I just explained. If we see a shift in your location with the species, we're going to get control that's not really as good as you'd like, or if you don't really know in your location. And here's a graph of data that's for the last 4 months or so from a location in the Caribbean, and they really didn't know what they were working with. And if you look at this graph, you can see that there are multiple peaks repeating themselves over and over again. And while you might look at this and say, oh my gosh, these things are just flying all the time and they're laying eggs and you're going to have to be treating again and again, the reality is if we didn't have this information, it would be a complete disaster. We'd be applying all the time and the timing would be off. But with this information, even though there are multiple flights, we can accurately time and come up with a plan that's relatively cost effective. So if you're having some issues with your white grub control isn't as great as you think it is, I do not think it's the product. The products still work well. It may be your timing, and maybe it's time to invest in one of these traps if you feel like you really don't know when you ought to be treating. Keep that in mind. If you've got a local expert in your state or area, you can always contact them and ask for additional information, see if they have any insight. But the more information you have, the better job you're going to do. Hope that helps. Look forward to talking with you again soon.